Well, crap. I guess we're gonna do this one inside. It was 70 degrees the other day, and now I've got 6 inches of snow. I was going to leave today, but there's no point in leaving. I'd never make it out of town. I tried to make it to the dollar store. I almost didn't do that, and that's only a few blocks that way. So, let's get on this. But first, I have to decide what I want for dinner. We'll do this. I'm just kidding. That's dessert. Alright, so, while that really doesn't go anywhere with the topic today, this is for you 18-year-olds. You want to start driving truck? I'm going to give you some pointers and things to ask. That way, you're not completely bamboozled by these recruiters. Because I'll tell you what, if you've never been out of town and you start talking to these guys, they're going to slick you like you've never been slicked. So, we're in my back room, my kind of evil scientist layer here, so let's get started. I usually like tinkering while we're doing these things. It helps keep me focused, but I was tinkering with this and the light bar earlier and that light bar, but I think I'm going to tinker with an old Kraco stereo, so I'll get that set up and then we'll get on with the discussion. I know for a lot of you guys, you're hearing a lot of the hype with truck driving now. Hey, this is a good way for me to make some money. I'm fresh out of high school. I don't want to go to college. I don't know what I want to do yet. But, you know, I can make a little money driving truck. You can. But it's not the romanticized thing that everybody's making it out to be. It is a good way to make money. But you're not going to make money overnight. So, when you go start looking for a job, you old timers will recognize one of these. It's got a built-in EQ. When you guys start looking for a job, the first thing you're going to start asking questions. And one of the worst things you can do that'll get you hemmed up faster than anything else is to start making demands right out of the gate. Because I'm going to tell you right now, these recruiters will take those listed demands and they'll flip them on you. So, when you start calling in, the last thing you want to say is, I want this, or I need this, or I need that. I'm going to tell you right now, you're 18, they're going to use you for all you're worth. They're not going to give you any of that. They know what they want. So, the first thing you need to do is say, what are you guys looking for? What kind of drivers are you looking for? That's where to start. You start off by asking them questions. And that way you put them on the defensive. You're negotiating for a job. You're not applying. Anybody can apply. Apply is simply you send in the paperwork, they look at it, and they decide whether you're going to be a good fit for the company or not. You are applying for a job. So, where do you go from there? Well, you've already applied, so now the interviewing starts. Interview the recruiter. Don't let the recruiter interview you. Ask him some very good pointed questions, but like I said, don't make any demands. If you ask him, what are you looking for, you're going to notice a pattern. They might start, well, you know, we're just trying to look into, you know, filling all sorts of positions for this, that, and the other thing. But if you really listen, they'll keep trying to steer the conversation back to a generalized topic that they have control over. And chances are, they're going to want you over the road. Well, something's happening, and there's no fire yet, so we're good. Now, I tell you like this, unless you're just completely unreasonable, the recruiter will end up trying to meet you in the middle with your demands. What do you want? It'd be like I'm going to tell you right now, these recruiters play this game twice an hour, 10 hours a day, 5 days a week. And most of them have been doing it for years. So you have to keep that in mind. These guys have played the game a whole hell of a lot longer than you've been around. So you have to play their game, but you have to be able to know how to ask the right questions. Because if you say, I want this job with this hours, I'm only going to go here, I'm only going to go there, one of two things are going to happen. He's going to be like, we got nothing for you. If he's honest. Or if he's like, we could probably work within that. I'll see what I can do. But you know what? Go ahead and fill out the application and come on in. And we could probably put you to work. You need to look for those little words. We'll see what we can do. We can probably... If you listen to what he says, he will fill your head with a lot of crap, but I'll guarantee you that there's not a promise made one in any of his statements. You need to watch that. Because I'll tell you right now, it's going to sound like he's promising all sorts of things. And no, he's not going to promise you anything, but you're going to think he did. So a lot of times, if they're advertising for a particular job that you're interested, chances are you have that one job is open, but what they really want is to get people in the doors to apply for the jobs that they're not advertising. The jobs that are hard to fill. The jobs that nobody wants. And that's what they're doing. They want people for those jobs. So, what do? Well, you be very particular in this point. If you have a particular job you want, like you want a local job, or you want to be the shag driver in the yard, or you're looking for just something hourly that, you can run back and forth and do stuff like that. Be very particular. Say, you were advertising this job. This is what I want. And chances are he's going to be like, well, we've kind of filled that, or we really are looking for someone older, or we're looking for this, or we're looking for that. Or if he starts hem-hawing and giving you excuses, there's no shame in being like, well, that's the job I want. I'm not interested in going out on the road at this time. I'm thinking about going back to night school or this, that, or the other thing. Be straight. Don't be afraid to walk away. You're not hurting anybody's feelings. This guy, like I said, twice an hour, 10 hours a day for, all year. 7 days a week, 5 days a week, whatever he does. That's what he does. The minute you're gone, he's going to forget about you. He might have you in there, but you might call back in a week or two and say, hey, still looking for this job. Seen the ad was still up. I still want it. It's a thought. I'm going to give you kids a little heads up. There's one lesson I learned the hard way, the very hard way. Especially when they're like, we promote from within. Yeah. I've been screwed over so many times by that very thing. Look, if you want a particular job in a company, and this is a lesson I learned the hard way, and I'm giving you the benefits of my screw-ups here. I learned this lesson the hard way. If you think you're going to take a road job and think you're going to move into something else, or they promise you that you're going to move into something else, don't. Because all they want to do is get you in the door and put you in a spot. They have a truck to fill. That's all they care about. And, I know people that thought that way. Hell, I thought that way. I'm going to get here and then I'll end up moving into this or moving into this or doing lateral moves in the company. Lateral moves in company are very rare. And at 18 years old, you're not going to move ahead of the guys that have been doing it at that company for 5 years, 6 years, 10 years. They're going to have preference. They know all the right people. That's a hard lesson to learn. So if they're not going to start you off in the position that you want, man, it's your call. But I don't recommend it just because you're going to be disappointed. And after a year and a half, you're going to be real disillusioned because you're going to be nowhere near where you were promised. And that's a hard pill to swallow. And that's a lesson I had to learn the hard way. I got some stories on that. I'm busy sitting here getting the speakers hooked up now, but we'll get that fired up in a minute. Found some tapes, old John Boy and Billy. These guys were funny from the old days. They still do a radio show out of Charlotte, but they're only a shell of what they used to be. They used to be nationally syndicated. They were Bob and Tom before Bob and Tom, but let's get this going. We're getting the power hooked up and see if we get any. Oh, that's electrical. Ha ha! Or did I just break it? No. Oh. Yeah, that was fire. All right, so let me. Oh, well, yeah. You. Pro tip: don't ground the power out to the frame of the radio. All right. Well, I found something. One of the stories that I don't mind telling you is about when I got out of the Army. This whole promoting within attitude is basically, as long as there's people, they're going to have this attitude. It doesn't matter whether you're trucking, building airplanes, manufacturing, working in a warehouse, whatever. I needed a job. I got out of the Army. I came home. I needed a job. I was doing some Joe jobs, this, that, and the other thing. I was a butcher for a while. That was an interesting story. Yeah, I learned the con artistry that's butcher shops. And I wanted to go work on jet engines. That's what I did in the military. I was a jet engine mechanic. I did heavy diesels, mainly M1 Abrams. I was a tank mechanic. M1 Abrams, Bradleys. I just worked on a little bit of everything. I was third shop. It's pretty cool. But I had all the certificates, I had all the qualifications, I had everything, learned jet engines, automotive gas turbines, lots of Cummins, Cats, the whole ordeal. I got certificates on a bunch of it. So living in Wichita at the time, I said, you know what, I'll go and to the aircraft company, I'll go build airplanes. And then I get there and they were like, you have all the qualifications we're looking for. How are you with a .co? And I was like, I don't even know what a .co is. Well, it's a diagonal grinder. It's just a brand name. It's an air-powered diagonal grinder. And my thought was, you know what? I'm going to get here, and then I can transfer. I can start moving within the company. No, it was impossible. And I learned the hard way that there was two things I could have done. I could have started off in the engine shop where I should have started off, right? And I could have negotiated my salary. As a truck driver, I don't know with 18-year-olds if you're going to have the clout to be able to negotiate your salary. But I'll tell you what, don't think that you're going to get into a business and move around like you want to. It just doesn't happen, like I said earlier. And that's what happened with me. I learned the hard way. I spent several years in a job I absolutely hated, building airplanes. I built the Hawker 800, and I worked on the J-Pats line. And where else did I work? I ended up somewhere else, too. I was back on the Hawker line. It was a mess. I hated that job. I worked for Raytheon. It was... they bought Beechcraft at the time, and I absolutely hated working there. And I quit there, and I'm driving trucks now, and I'd rather do that. But that was an example, and I learned a hard lesson. I wasted several years of my life at a job I hated thinking that I could move. Don't do that. Let's see what's happening here. So, no, it does not work. Well, the radio works, but I guess that's all we can hope for these days. So, I guess I'm just going to finish this video up with this. You 18, you want to drive truck? Come on out. But you're going to have to develop some pretty thick skin. You're going to have to toughen up. And you're going to have to develop a work ethic if you don't have it. That's going to be very demanding. This is a very hard job. Excuse me. It's a very hard job. People talk about it like all you got to do is sit on your butt all day and ride around the country. There's a lot more than that. It's going to be very tough. It's going to be very taxing. You're going to be driving all different hours. When it's time to go, it's time to go. When it's time to sleep, it's time to sleep. You know, there's nothing wrong with wanting to play your Xbox or watching a little TV, movies, YouTube, whatever you're doing out on the road. Nothing wrong with any of that. But there's a time and place for everything, and your company is going to expect you to do these things. You're going to have deadlines. You're going to have, it's going to be a whole different world, man. So you need to be ready for it. You're going to need some thicker skin. You know, being 18 out here, there's a lot of people that are going to resent it just because the job and the industry is changing and these people aren't changing with it. You know, you can be mad about it or you can embrace it and work within it. I've chosen to embrace it and work within it because I really want you guys to be safe. I want you guys to be well. I want you guys to be at good companies who aren't going to look at your age, but are going to treat you as equals with the other drivers that they hire. That's what I want. I want you guys to be well. And that's why I made this video. Be direct about what you want. Don't, take the recruiters with a grain of salt. It's the information age. Get online. Do your research about these companies. Now, you're going to hear a lot of negative things, but you young kids are smart about the internet. Start reading all the reviews. You're going to read a lot of bad things, but you're going to notice something like I noticed. If you start going through all the reviews, good and bad, you're going to start seeing common threads through all these reviews. And then you'll start getting a good idea of what the company's about. So you might get 2 or 3 bad reviews, but it was just a guy who sucked as a driver. You're going to run into a lot of that. You're going to hear a lot of bitching and moaning and complaining. But I'll tell you what, if the job's decent and your paychecks aren't bouncing, don't worry about how the boss spends their money. Do your job, make some money, and maybe in a year or 2, you might want to make this a career. You might want to go off to college. You might want to join the Army. You might want to do something else. So, just be well, man. That's why we're making these videos. I want you to be well. So I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Look forward to seeing you out here if you choose to come. So thanks for watching. See you next video.